Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, New Hampshire. Thank you, New Hampshire. Let me take this opportunity to thank the people of New Hampshire for a great victory tonight.
That's right. In case you have not heard, in case you have not been doing your due diligence and listening out for the winner of this particular primary contest, one independent senator from Vermont that is running as a Democrat, Bernie fucking Sanders, wins New Hampshire. Now the catch is, this should have been a slightly different victory in the sense that Sanders wins Iowa and goes running with a ball of steam into New Hampshire, in which case he goes running with a ball of steam into Nevada. But instead you get kneecapped Bernie Sanders, who, yes, wins New Hampshire, but this was far closer than what it should have been. I mean, ultimately, you had a situation where Pete Buttigieg got extremely close to winning New Hampshire. Right now, this is with, let's see, 89% of the precincts reporting. Sanders, 71,384. That's 25.87%. Buttigieg, 66,709. That's 24.17%. Very close. Very close. Like I said, closer than I'm all that much comfortable with. Klobuchar outperforming, 54,713 with 19.83%. No one else in the race gets delegates. Yes, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, neither one of them gets delegates. This was an embarrassing, outright humiliating, painful loss for Biden and Warren. Warren coming in a distant fourth, making half of what Klobuchar received with 25,549, 9.2926% of the vote, and Biden with even less than that with 23,987 with 8.69% of the vote. And again, Biden nor Warren will get delegates. For the most part, what you found in this, some of the trends were fascinating. Many of the trends, for the most part, held out. I think the thing that probably is leaping out at people is Klobuchar. Now, I predicted in my other video, we did a contributor appreciation and a campaign result video. There's a lot more analysis in that video as it goes about, but just to make a few points on this, I chose Klobuchar as my third. I had no expectation of Klobuchar getting this high a percentage, however. Meaning, I thought Klobuchar was going to be somewhat of a distant third. I didn't think that she was going to get 20%. I mean, she overperformed the RCP average. Klobuchar was only getting 19.7. Wait a minute. Oh, I see, final result. She was only getting 11.7% of the vote tally. That's all. And she ends up bringing in 19.7. So Klobuchar nearly doubled what she was going to end up with. Now, there's nothing nefarious here. Ultimately, you had a situation where Joe Biden outright collapsed. Understand what was taking place. If you look at RCP for Iowa, or let's say the national, let's look at the national polling. One of the things that you notice, Joe Biden here in the green, the trend for Joe Biden had been that Joe Biden was dominant, or at the very least leading, for the entirety of almost a year. But look at what happens here. Joe Biden, this is in January, is at 29.4%. Now, in February, Joe Biden drops all the way to 20.4%. When beforehand, he was all the way up to 29.7%. That is a blistering drop. A blistering drop. Now, the catch here is any polling that's done by Real Clear Politics is just taking an aggregate. I mean, even if we go to Morning Consult, take a look at this. This is, again, national polling. But take a look at Biden. This is in December. So let's go to January. January 12th, 29%. Today, Joe Biden, 22%. Understand what that means. Within less than a month, Joe Biden plummeted. The attacks on Social Security, where he gets the worst end of that. The attacking the various contestants in the race, meaning not the contestants, but the various people who are coming to his town halls and at these other events, where he's grabbing the people by the collar, calling the woman a dog face, a lying dog face, pony soldier. But keep in mind, that's just one of many, calling a guy fat and challenging to a push-up contest. He has been threatening and intimidating people, telling people to go vote for other people. This looks insane. Now, the catch here is that Joe Biden's claim to fame in all of this has been electability. The problem is Sanders was on the upswing. And while Sanders was on the upswing, this fight with Social Security ends up losing Joe Biden one of his contingents. Meaning, one of the trends that Joe Biden has been able to take was, for the most part, an older demographic. But he started losing support from that particular demographic. He comes into a distant fourth in Iowa, and bam, all the attention immediately goes to Buttigieg with his fake bump. And not just Buttigieg with the fake bump. Sanders gets a modest bump. But understand, for Buttigieg to get that bump, Buttigieg went from, to put it in perspective, take a look at this. Let's go to New Hampshire. Buttigieg goes from, Buttigieg is the purple, January, 14.1, it spikes all the way up, 22.2, within a few days. All of this was because of the fake bump, or the fake win, that Buttigieg got from Iowa, with the Iowa Democratic Party and the media colluding to give him all of this media attention that he didn't deserve one iota, because nobody actually knows who won in Iowa. My point is, after that fake win, he ends up with a bump that takes him from 14 points to 22 points, almost within 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Where did those points come from? Sanders didn't lose any support in that. In fact, Sanders went up like 2 or 3 points. Where did the support come from? The support came from Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Because Elizabeth Warren's performance in Iowa was utterly atrocious. Also, even though she did moderately better than Joe Biden, the catch here is you have a segment of Warren supporters that easily floats to Buttigieg. And they did just that. They float to Buttigieg with the support. You have a contingent of Biden supporters that easily floats to Buttigieg. And they did exactly that. So you have a situation where Warren gets picked on by Sanders, who takes some, and Buttigieg, who takes maybe a little bit more. And Biden, who gets picked on by Buttigieg, who takes some. And oddly enough, Sanders taking a bit. But also Klobuchar. Meaning the issue here is that Joe Biden collapsed so fast. Meaning Buttigieg spiked. But Joe Biden was collapsing so fast that the polling could not necessarily accommodate the fact that Joe Biden was collapsing that fast. I mean, it's one thing if you had multiple polls where over a period of time you had a gradual fall. This happened all within the course of a few days. It is important to note that the Quinnipiac poll, the national poll that showed this notion of electability within the course of a few days, less than a month, Joe Biden went from 44 to 25, I believe, 25 or 27 in the sense of electability, meaning he lost nearly 20 points of people considering him to be more electable in like 4 days. There is no way to accommodate a drop that fast, especially when you have an election back to back to back. So the reason that Klobuchar did as well, mainly because Joe Biden collapsed. And he collapsed absolutely. It wasn't gradual, it was all at once. Now, I told you, electability was a fickle mistress. And the moment that people stop seeing you as being primarily electable, or they start seeing someone else as being just as electable, you have a problem. Especially if the electability argument is not undergirded by anything. Meaning, it's one thing if people say, yes, I think that person's environmental policy is better. I think that person healthcare policy is better. I think that person education policy is better. I think that person criminal justice policy is better. Yes, I think that person environmental policy is better. It's one thing if that person says all of that and they say, because of that, I think that person is more electable. It's different when you just say, I think that person is more electable because that person is more electable. And Biden, who leaned into that particular argument, now gets stuck with a situation where the guy whose claim to fame was electability gets the stuffing beat out of him in Iowa. And people start having questions about electability, especially in the context of all of these other things that were taking place that made him look like he was losing his mind. Add to that Pete Buttigieg getting all of this attention, and then Klobuchar getting a bit of attention with a bump after that last Democratic debate. Then right off the bat, Joe Biden collapsed absolutely. Klobuchar starts eating to his numbers. Buttigieg starts eating into his numbers. And you end up with this. Bernie Sanders takes New Hampshire. Like, share, and subscribe. Think so.